Hi, and welcome to the Presenter Mastery Podcast. I'm Lucas, CEO of Headgain and amateur speaker.
And I'm David, expert speaker.
And together, we're your weekly guides to unlocking the power of presentation skills. In today's episode, we are talking about the ABCDOs of storytelling. And what is that? It's a model on how to use stories. It's a very common question for you, David. You did the Magical Science of Storytelling TEDx talk, and it's been viewed by, at this point, 3 million?
Five?
Way off on this number.
Way off.
The biggest talk on the TEDx stage about business storytelling. And you've been asked to do keynotes on the topic. You've been doing workshops. We've done courses on it. And there's a question that is very often coming to you based on this, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes. And that is, how on earth do I get these stories into the meeting, David?
Yes.
How do I use them? How do I get them into the presentations? And that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So the ABCDOs.
Yeah, let's first define what the story is, right? Again, don't need to be like you or I, bearded men. You don't need to be 75. You don't need to be Scottish. You don't need to sit in front of an open fire in a nice leather sofa and tell stories which last 10 minutes with your offspring around you looking at you going like, wow, this is amazing. That is, I think, like the picture a lot of people have of storytelling. But we need to make this clear that just retelling an event is a story. So if I ask you, what did you do this weekend? And you go, I woke up, I went to the gym, I went to the movies, and then I came home again. That's a story, because that's an event. That's how easy it is. And anyone, and everywhere, and all over the world, we do it every single day. You do 100 stories per day. When you're sitting in the coffee room, when you're talking about the news, you refer to events that has happened, that you've read about, that others have been in. So just make that clear. Otherwise, this is a confusing path to take, you know? And the question then is, how on earth do we get these stories into the freaking meetings? Like, I've got a story, but I don't know. It just seems so weird. Shall I just say, excuse me, I have a story. Can I add a story to this PowerPoint? And that doesn't work because that's weird. Yeah. So I sat down and I started documenting every way that I found good storytellers. People who told not just events, but stories of those events. And not just stories of those events, but good versions of those events and stories. So they were good storytellers. And I listened to them. And I thought to myself, wonder how they do it. And I started writing down their ways of doing it. And I found 5. ABCDO. The ABCDO model is what it's called. And each of these letters stand for one way to inject a story into a meeting or a presentation. A. That's where we begin.
A is for animals.
A is not for animals.
No, it's not stories about animals.
Yeah, no. It's for answers.
Yeah.
All right. And this is actually the most natural way that human beings use stories without even thinking about it. But it seems like it doesn't occur to people that they do it this way. So the way it goes is that if someone asks you a question, you respond with a story. You don't respond with a number or a fact or some kind of just a information outflow. You respond with a story. Okay. And what I do when I do these workshops, just to give people an insight on how tremendously many stories we human beings have in our head, they get 2-3 minutes to just give the other person a random object that they can just come up with. And the other person then has to tell a story about that object. And they can only go on for like 15 seconds. So even if the story is super interesting, they have to stop it. The only purpose of this is to see, can this person bring out stories to like practically any random object? And they can. So we're going to do it, Lucas.
Okay.
And I have not prepared you for what I'm going to say.
No.
And I don't even know what I'm going to say or which I'm going to give you. But I'm going to take out a timer and I'm going to give you, you can tell a story of each of these objects for 15 seconds.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm going to do 3 objects. So it's going to be like a total of 45 seconds of stories. It's going to be 3 stories. Okay. And the way you do this is I'm going to just say this object to you. I'm kind of just going to say, can you, when were you in contact with this object before, for instance? And then boom, you go with the story. Okay? Are you ready?
Yeah.
You don't. You look very tense, though. It's like, loosen up, have fun.
Yeah. All
right, and you are allowed to think. Give it like 5-10 seconds. You're like, okay, I've got it. Yeah, so you don't have to jump in, but the faster you jump in, the more impressive it is, of course. Okay.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay, boom. Number 1, autumn leaves.
Oh, when I was a kid, I used to dig holes in the autumn leaf piles and crawl in. And I remember distinctly, when you were completely covered and it's damp.
That was great. Candle.
You know what? I forgot the candle lit, and I knew I forgot it.
When was this?
I was in the car. It's a couple of weeks back, and I was driving away from home, and then realizing no.
Yeah. Oh God. Okay, I got you. Stop. Rose. Red rose.
So our garden, my wife is a florist, and every year it's 5 new roses in this garden. And it may sound lovely, but a lot of them are pains.
Stop. Okay, good. That's an example. And we could literally just keep on doing this for an entire hour and you would be able to spit out a story for each object that I give you. So that means that when you're in a conversation with someone or you're in a meeting, and someone asks you a question, you respond with a story instead of a fact or information. It's just human nature. And what's so cool with this is that as soon as I've said this, you can start, as a listener to this pod, and you, Lucas, you can start listening to how people actually communicate when they communicate. And you'll notice that the natural way of communicating is a story to a question. But as soon as we end up in a corporate environment, in a meeting, we tend to stop doing that. And instead, we tend to just use fact arguments or information to convey to the other person. And it just kills the...
it's easier to go into logical reasoning instead of telling a story that connects. Yeah.
But the story... who gives proof to the logical reasoning will be more powerful. Yeah, will be more powerful. So that's A, okay? And then we have the B, which is bouncers. That's where you don't get a question, but there's an initiation from the client or the person that you're talking to. So
is it like, oh, that reminds me.
Yeah.
That last week.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Oh, all right. So yeah. Thinking about houses, when I was, and then you go, thinking about football, I remember, oh, did you see? So you just bounce off a subject.
Yeah.
And that's, I wouldn't say it's as common, but still common. Yeah. And when, again, as I said, if you start listening to how people communicate naturally, you'll see that this is how people naturally communicate. But we tend to stop doing that when we're in a corporate environment. Yeah. And then we have counters. And this is just like a recommendation of where stories truly come to its best. And that is to answer an argument, or like they've got a problem, something that you've said or something that you portray that you're doing. And they're like, well, does that really work? If you counter with a story instead of a fact, that is where the true pros use stories. Oh, wow. Like I did an example in our last podcast, but I'll do the same story again just to give you the context. And this was a real situation. I was in a meeting with a customer and we were sitting down. She was in front of me. I was sitting here, quite a small room. Never met her before. She'd asked me to do a 2-day training. So I went there and I sat down there with her, and she went through the disposition. She read the text and she said, "This looks good," but I felt, something was off. And then she said, "Well, the people who will be sending this training, their main problem is that they're quite nervous, and I can't really see that there's a lot about nervousness in your course." And there wasn't, because I don't focus on nervousness. My focus is on, if I give them the skills, their nervousness will go away. And so I said to her, that's correct. Well, and then she asked me, do you work with nervousness in the training? Well, yes, we do. Just brings me back, actually, 3 weeks ago. I was holding a training in Stockholm, and there was this girl who was all red-eyed when she came in. And I asked her if she was okay. She said, "I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I was so nervous. I don't want to be here. I don't want to learn this." And she sat down. I said, "I'll take extra care of you. Just sit down at the front." And then the training went by, and it went easier and easier. And when we were done, she was again all red-eyed and crying. And I said, "Well, are you okay?" And she said, "This is mind-blowing. I've gone my entire life hiding from presentations when it was possible to be fixed in 2 days. And nowhere in that training did I go around talking about how you can reduce nervousness. What I instead did, I gave them the skills that allows them to feel confident and comfortable, and then any nervousness will always go away." Same thing with driving a car. Because when you drive a car and you don't know how to drive a car, you're nervous and you're tensed and you're stressed. But as soon as you know how to drive a car, that'll go away. No driving teacher ever teaches you how to remove your nervousness. No. They teach you how to drive a car. Yeah? So I say this to her. So first I launch a story, and then I launch this metaphor of the car. So the story, she goes, "Oh, yeah, that's true." And then the metaphor just cements it. A metaphor is like a short story about the driving lessons. And she looked at me and she said, "That sounds great." And they booked me. But if I, Lucas, instead would have gone, oh yes, I'm sorry, yes, I just didn't include that. But actually, around the 10 o'clock mark, we spent 20 minutes going through 3 different ways of getting rid of nervousness. And then also at around 3 o'clock, we go through one more method. That would not have worked even remotely close as efficiently as sharing a story, connecting with a metaphor if you wish. So counters is just, that's where the pros really get use of good stories. Yeah. And then we have D.
D for David?
Yeah, just always bring David with you. Yeah. Just put him in the corner.
Have a little David in your pocket. Pull him out.
Got no stories, David.
You can buy it in our merch shop.
Yeah. Oh, so many people ask me to actually do that. Can't you just stay by my side?
Oh, but I don't think that's a good idea, though.
I don't think so either.
No.
So the D it's spectacular. Ooh, and there's 2 dimensions to this. And when I figured this out, it blew my mind how efficient it is. It's called Duo. I call it Duo, and it can be used in 2 different ways. So the one way is if you and I, Lucas, would go to a meeting. Yeah. So we're sitting there in the meeting, and I can't go, "Hello, I have a story. Can I tell it?" But I can go, "Story." I can go, "Lucas, you experienced something similar to that. Can't you just share that with them?" I can do that because that's okay. But I can't go, "I have a story about that." But I can invite you to tell a story about it. So the Duo is, if you're 2, you can ask the other person to tell the story, and it's perfectly fine, right? So it's a beautiful little technique.
Yeah. Also easy to use if you're uncomfortable in doing stories yourself, and you just pull the other one.
That's probably where it was born. But the second like angle of this is even more powerful. The thing is this: if you got 3 kids, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you have this one of your kids, say Leon. Yeah. He's crying. And it's Tuesday. But on Friday, you're going to a fun park. So in Sweden, we have a fun park called Gröna Lund, for instance. And you're going to go there on Friday. But it's Tuesday, and he's crying. So what story will you tell him? Or what will you say to him rather? Not story you will tell him. What, like a parent, what will you say to a kid who's crying? You'll try to break his pattern and you'll say something about Friday, right?
Yeah, probably.
Something, what would kind of give me an idea?
Well, is he crying because it's
something else?
It's something. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Because my kid always cries if he knows something is coming in 3 days. So this example is kind of hard for me.
Damn. All right, sorry.
So I never tell specifically that kid. I never tell anything. Like the day before, you tell him that you're doing something, because otherwise it's nagging for like every single minute.
Okay.
But surely,
right.
if he's sad, and I, in this example, would say, well, Lion, it's. But on Friday we're going to Gröna Lund.
Yeah.
And think of all the fun things we'll do. And think, do you want cotton candy, or do you want to go on the roller coaster?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do?
Yeah. And the key question here is, what do you want to do? Because as soon as he tells you what he wants to do, he's telling a story. And that story, what will happen to him?
He'll be in that moment instead of the moment he is in.
Exactly. So he'll move out of the emotion he's in into a different emotion. He'll simulate and stimulate the emotion of going on a roller coaster, of eating cotton candy. And suddenly he is creating emotions in himself through the stories you asked him to tell. And this comes down to our substances again. So now he, in real time, thanks to your question, will be creating maybe serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins, happy versions of them. And you as a parent, by just asking the right question, got him to tell a story that made him in a good mood, put him in a good mood. And that is the cool thing about Duo. So if I have a client and I can see I don't know, whatever, I'm coaching them and I can see they're not really in the mood, whatever, so something like that. And then I ask them, I've always wondered, what is your passion? Like, do you absolutely love doing? And they go like, well, rock climbing. Rock climbing. God, that sounds dangerous. What's, just give me one quick insight. Give me best rock climbing experience you've had. And they're like, wow, it was, and you can see them shine up. And you're like, it was the Alps, I was climbing. And within 1 minute, they moved entirely out of whatever emotion they were in, stressed or upset, into this emotion of being happy, of being grounded. And now I can coach them. Yeah. But I couldn't have told that story. So the power of Duo is, and sometimes I say this, do you know who the best storyteller in the world is? It's the person who asks the best questions. Because a person who's good at asking questions and getting exactly the right stories out of people can move them in either direction of emotional states. Yeah. Freaking fantastic. So the Duo has 2 dimensions to it, where the second dimension is just so powerful. And we already do it. Again, as I said, we do these things. What I just did is analyze them and just put them into this model so it's easier for you to understand.
Well, I see that being used so much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it can be used more consciously.
Yeah.
Because now I think we just do it intuitively, which maybe we do it 3 times out of 5. We could do it 5 times out of 5.
Yeah, but it's using the Duo. I've never thought of it that way. Like we've always been talking about it when you are 2 in the meeting.
Yeah.
But using the Duo is actually you, perhaps as a salesperson, asking the prospect to tell more about their situation, about what they desire, what their pain is, asking questions that lead to emotional responses in forms of questions. It's a very powerful tool.
Yeah, in a way, I'd actually argue that is the best storyteller. Bringing stories out of other people. And then we have O. Do you remember what O is?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
No, it's objects.
It's objects.
I know.
You know. I was wondering that. So, do you use it? Do you ever use it?
Not as often.
He uses it. He just doesn't know he uses it.
Okay.
Guess what he has in his office, or has had quite a long time?
Nerf guns?
Nope. Something that portrays your personality. One of the traits that you are most proud over.
What do I have in my office?
is intelligence. What do you have in your office? What did you used to just have in your office?
The Rubik's Cube.
The Rubik's Cube, but not only that, but a magazine from
Mensa.
From Mensa. So that's an object. So people who go in there, they've never seen this object before. They go like, "What is this? This is a magazine from Mensa." And the question is then, why is that in Luca's office? Well, it's a beautiful way of using objects for stories. Because how many people have then asked you, Lucas, what is this? And how many times have you then given the opportunity to tell the story about why you were in Mensa?
Yeah.
Yeah?
True.
All right?
True. Yeah.
But that would have been weird if you didn't have that object.
Yeah.
And people would go like in there, and then you suddenly out of nowhere, hey, did you know I'm in Mensa? They would like,
yeah, that doesn't work.
Freaking strange human being, this Lucas. Let's not have him here.
No.
And Lucas has probably tried that like 5 or 10 times, failed, figured out that having the object there and making them ask the question just makes it so much simpler.
That's true.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is great because it's one of your most fantastic traits, and one of the reasons. Of course, I love your personality as a whole, but seeing your brain at work is just is magical, you know. And I that's one of the things I appreciate truly with you. So I absolutely see the reason for portraying that and conveying that, because it gives you character. And we do this. People do this. You know, we have objects with pins. You know, I'm part of this club, or I've achieved this or something like that, and each of them has a story. And if you meet somebody who's what do you call that? If you're in the military and you've had like pins and awards, and there's a word for that. And you can literally look at this person, you can like, where did that come from? Where did that come from? Where did that come from? And you will be filled with the best stories ever. And not maybe like the best, but like touching, life-moving stories, probably.
Well, that's true. Now just sitting and thinking about it, there is a story to each and every single thing I have.
Yeah.
I write on this remarkable, but I know exactly where it came from and the gratitude I have for it. I know about this bracelet I have. I know about the ring that I wear. The cap that I have on. Where the shoes came from. I know everything.
Isn't it fascinating?
Yeah, there's a story connected to each and every object.
Each and every object, like
these pants. So funny. Just gonna share it because I was at my daughter played handball. And I, as a parent in the club, you have to help when there's big matches and stuff. So I come to the place, and we're out playing because we're waiting for something. And then suddenly, from nowhere, I realized I've ripped my entire jeans. From the groin down to the knee. Like the biggest. So I had to pull my jacket off, pull it around, and then just leave the kid, go to the store and buy jeans. And these were the ones that I bought.
That's a great story as well. Yeah? That's a great story because especially if you add the element that you go into a kid's game and you have a ripped groin.
It didn't work. Didn't work. No good.
That element of this was just nah.
No.
If you went bowling with seniors, you could have gotten away with it. But like going to a kid's game, nah.
No.
All right. So yes, experiment with that actually at home. Now you listening to this, go around and look at the stuff that you have at home, and I'd say that 8 out of 10 of everything that you see, there's a story where it came from, how you got it, who gave it to you, where you bought it. It's fantastic. I love objects. And how can we use that in a virtual setting, man?
Oh, your backdrop. Obviously, like everywhere in our virtual meetings, we have things, items, objects in the backdrop that have meaning to them, that have stories connected to them.
And the fantastic thing about that is then that they portray your personality. And I just want to say this. I say this over and over again. I love digital. Because for the first time in human history, we can portray our personality in a meeting, in a customer meeting. We couldn't do that before. How did we do that before? We couldn't bring like paintings and bowling balls and footballs and stuff to meetings. We couldn't do that. That would be weird. But now we can have them at the back of us. And the customer can go, I see a boat behind you. Do you like sailing? And then you go into that. And or you've got like the Rubik's Cube. Oh, you've done that as well. What's your record? And you're like 0.5.
0.5.
But objects in virtual settings is definitely underused. People use these green screens. People, again, I'm so freaking irritated that people don't take digital seriously. Do it.
Yeah, it's if you're just setting it up, I mean, just look at the angle and what's behind you. And think, is this the best angle and the best backdrop?
Yeah.
Or can I do better?
Yeah.
And if you can, just do.
Yeah, add objects.
Yeah.
Add a backdrop. It primes people. So that's the ABCDO.
Yeah.
It's useful, isn't it?
Yeah, 100% useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. We'll
love
start
it
using
too.
it more.
I love it too.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. And before we sign off, we have Skill of the Week.
Skill of the Week. and David opens his laptop.
Well, David opens his laptop. The Skill of the Week is coming shortly, and it's a new skill out of the 110-step skills chart that David will talk about and that you can use in your next presentation and watch the difference.
Okay, this week we will be picking... Okay, it's going to be skill 7.
Number 7.
Number 7.
Which one is number 7?
Usually lucky number that.
Yeah. Do you have all these in your head? Sorry for going off topic.
No, I've got like maybe the 10 most common ones.
Yeah.
Well, like the most powerful ones. But what we're going through now is just random ones. So number 7, register. Okay, so this beauty has phenomenal and tremendous opportunity to make you appear more confident and influential. And comedy.
Ooh.
Not bad for one.
No, that's good.
So what has been shown in whether it's a man or a woman is if you drop your register and you go down and you speak in a lower tone, you're perceived as being more influential. You're perceived as you've got better control over things. So if you can, in situations like that, where it's important that you're perceived as being that, try to lower your pitch slightly. So that's number 1. Margaret Thatcher, she actually had coaches who helped her drop her pitch quite considerably in order to be perceived as more dominant in the situation she went into.
Wow.
So that's number 1. Oh, there's actually 3 benefits with this. I remember now. Because the reason I did this wasn't actually because of this reason. Well, the reason I practiced to drop my register was because I went to a speech coach. Because I was losing my voice about twice a year for about a week. And it was usually connected to a cold. But anyhow, it could happen practically anywhere. So that meant that I had to cancel all my assignments that week, literally. And I just had to be silent for a week. And this year after year after year, from when I was 20 till I was 38 or something like that, maybe 40 even. And I went to this coach and said, drop your register and you probably won't suffer from this anymore. You're talking, your pitch is too high naturally. So I dropped it. And then went away. I haven't lost my voice for 7 years.
Wow, how did you sound before?
Just slightly high pitch. You can listen to my TEDx talk, How to Avoid Death by PowerPoint, and you'll hear that my pitch is slightly higher.
Yeah.
So yeah, dropped that, and it obviously then also benefited the pondus and the confidence. And I'm not losing my voice. So that's great. And the way I practiced doing this was that every time I spoke with a higher pitch, I just reminded myself to go down in pitch. So it was just kind of a reminder over and over and over and over again until it felt natural to me. I still have to remind myself sometimes these days as well, but it is way more natural. So that's the second one reason. The third, comedy, comes from that when you suddenly go up in a high register, it's and you connect that in like a story or role play, it's super funny. So I have this thing in one of my keynotes where I do this role play. I'm up on stage, I'm talking about yada yada yada, and then I go up to my computer and I look at it, and it's about being stressed about an email or something like that. And I go to my computer and I say, all right, so I log into my computer, I scroll and I open my email, and there's this email. And I go, what is this? What is this? Who did this? And that increase of register makes the audience laugh. Makes the audience laugh immediately. So yeah, high pitch, going really high, low, and middle. But what you should look for is driving down your register. Generally. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
There we go. That was number 7.
That was skill of the week.
Imagine one skill having a impact over 3 things so powerful.
Yeah.
Or at least 2 powerful, and comedy is good as well, of course. Bonus. All right,
Yes.
my man. I like this. I like this idea of yours. Skill of the week.
Yeah.
Good one, man.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
We're getting there.
All right. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you are interested in learning more about being a public speaker, a presenter master, you should check out our webinar called Top 3 Things to Master if you want to be a 1% presenter. The link is in the show notes. Click to it and watch it.
Yes, do so.
All right.
Cheerio.
Thank you. Bye-bye.